You never really see betrayal coming. It doesn't slam the door open or shout in your face. No, it's quieter than that. Slips in like a slow leak in your basement, steady, silent, and all the while rotting everything behind the walls. I didn't catch my wife cheating by finding lipstick on my shirt or perfume that wasn't hers. She came right out and told me. Said it like she was sharing a piece of wisdom. Said it was part of her healing. It started when we signed up for marriage counseling. Her idea. She found the guy online. Highly rated, she said. Specialized in relationship burnout or something like that. Sounded like a fancy term for being bored with your husband. His name was Marcus Hale. Some soft-spoken guy with round glasses and a voice like warm milk. Always wore those button-down sweaters like he was halfway between professor and preacher. Ran his practice out of a brick townhouse that smelled like cleaning spray and anxiety. I didn't like him from the start. Now I know I had a reason. At first, he hardly even looked at me. Most of the sessions were just him asking her questions while I sat there like a piece of furniture. When did you stop feeling safe? How long have you felt invisible? That kind of thing, da. And Laura, my wife, she answered like she'd been practicing. Calm, poised, just the right amount of tearful. Meanwhile, I sat there biting my tongue and gripping the chair like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Then came the sixth session. That was the one she told me I wasn't invited to. He thinks I should do a few solo sessions, she said, folding towels like it was no big deal. Some of my issues come from outside the marriage. I almost asked if one of those issues had Marcus Hale's fingerprints all over it. But I didn't. I held my tongue, like I was taught. See, growing up, I always heard that therapy was supposed to fix things. Help you talk it out. Never figured someone could use it like a weapon. Weeks passed, then months. She came home, different. Not exactly happier, just less weighed down. Like she had set something heavy down and walked away from it. That should have been a warning sign. Then came a night, she told me. We were sitting in the living room, on that saga beige couch where the left cushion sinks a little more than the others. I always sat there. It was mine. She sat across from me, legs crossed, looking like she was getting ready to give a news report. Calm, polished, scripted. I need to tell you something, she said, soft like she was afraid I might crack. I waited, didn't move. I've been seeing Marcus outside of counseling, she said. Just like that. 6 words, and I swear I felt something inside me break so loud I thought the walls might echo it. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't cry. I just sat there, quiet as a man who finally realizes the house he built was never really his. She looked lighter, like she'd finally told the truth and expected me to thank her for it. He saw things in me you couldn't, she said. Sounded rehearsed, like something she read off a quote board online. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. Couldn't. I took a pillow to the floor. Didn't want to smell her. Didn't want to feel her breath next to mine. But I still dreamed. I saw them. On that same office couch where we once sat, trying to fix us. Only this time, he wasn't scribbling notes. He was holding her, kissing her, and she let him. Next morning, I poured coffee like nothing had changed. Hands steady, stomach hollow. She walked in barefoot, wearing one of my old shirts like it was still hers to wear. Her eyes were red, probably from guilt, or maybe not. You think this ends in forgiveness? I asked her without turning. She didn't reply. It doesn't, I said. And that was it. That was where everything didn't just fall apart. It shifted. I wasn't broken. I wasn't furious. I was cold. Still. The kind of calm that makes people nervous. That night, I sat in my truck with the engine off, headlights off, parked in our own driveway like I didn't belong there anymore. No music. No phone. Just the click of the engine, cooling, and the noise in my head. I saw them again. Not the act. Just the intimacy. The way she probably laughed when he said something dumb. The way she let him in where I was locked out. That is what hurt. Not the sex. The closeness. The secrets. The parts of her I never got to see, even after 12 years. He knew her. That was the part that wrecked me. He knew her fears. Her insecurities. The things she said she could never share. And she gave it to him in 6 sessions. I walked back inside just after midnight. She was in bed already, probably pretending to be asleep. I did not look at her. Just went to the home office and opened her laptop. She hadn't even tried to cover her tracks. Email drafts. Notes on her phone. One stood out. Marcus says I'm finally coming alive again. I read it 3 times. Closed the lid. Next morning, I drove past his office. Didn't go in. Just watched. The building looked smug. Confident. A woman stood outside. Mid-40s, nervous, gripping her purse. Probably her turn next. Probably hoping for help. And maybe she would get it. Or maybe she'd walk out with a new kind of wound. I went home, and I started watching my wife. I did not spy on her like some jealous guy watching through blinds. I paid attention. I watched with intent. I listened, really listened, not just to what she said, but to what she left out. How she moved. What made her pause? What made her smile? Laura started humming again. Old songs she used to play in the kitchen when life still felt good between us. She lit candles just to read books. She laughed at things on her phone and tilted the screen away from me, like some kid hiding text from her parents. Then one night, we were sitting on the couch after dinner. She poured herself another glass of wine, leaned back like she had just finished a long day of being free, and said it, just like that. I feel like I'm starting to come back to myself. I kept my eyes on the television. And who exactly was I married to before? She hesitated, lips still shiny from the wine. Someone who never really saw me. I let that sit in the air. I did not argue. I did not react. I just stored it away. Another crack in the wall. Later that night, I checked our shared digital calendar. She had another session with Marcus on Thursday. That is what she called it now. No more therapy. No Dr. Hale. Just Marcus. Real casual, like they were catching up over coffee. So I followed her. Parked across from the townhouse. Watched her get there early, just like always. She hated being late. She wore that soft blue blouse I gave her last Christmas. The one she said was too plain. Suddenly, it seemed just fine to her now. She knocked once, and he opened the door himself. No assistant. No secretary. Just him. Just her. Like clockwork. I stayed in the truck. Waited. She came out an hour later with that same look she had the night she first told me. Like something in her had been fed. Her cheeks were warm, her steps lighter. Not a single tear on her face. That is when I started digging. Marcus Hale. No wife. No kids. Moved around a lot. Always quiet towns. Never stayed long. I found vague stories from past clients in each place. A pattern. No formal charges. No clear evidence. But enough to know something was not right. Whispers of lines crossed. Women left worse than they came in. I made a call to an old buddy of mine from college. He works with networks, cybersecurity stuff. I did not explain much. I walked back inside just after midnight. She was in bed already, probably pretending to be asleep. I did not look at her. Just went to the home office and opened her laptop. She hadn't even tried to cover her tracks. Email drafts. Notes on her phone. One stood out. Marcus says I'm finally coming alive again. I read it 3 times. Closed the lid. Next morning, I drove past his office. Didn't go in. Just watched. The building looked smug. Confident. A woman stood outside. Mid-40s, nervous, gripping her purse. Probably her turn next. Probably hoping for help. And maybe she would get it. Or maybe she'd walk out with a new kind of wound. I went home, and I started watching my wife. I did not spy on her like some jealous guy watching through blinds. I paid attention. I watched with intent. I listened, really listened, not just to what she said, but to what she left out. How she moved. What made her pause. What made her smile. Laura started humming again. Old songs she used to play in the kitchen when life still felt good between us. She lit candles just to read books. She laughed at things on her phone and tilted the screen away from me, like some kid hiding text from her parents. Then one night, we were sitting on the couch after dinner. She poured herself another glass of wine, leaned back like she had just finished a long day of being free, and said it, just like that. I feel like I'm starting to come back to myself. I kept my eyes on the television. And who exactly was I married to before? She hesitated, lips still shiny from the wine. Someone who never really saw me. I let that sit in the air. I did not argue. I did not react. I just stored it away. Another crack in the wall. Later that night, I checked our shared digital calendar. She had another session with Marcus on Thursday. That is what she called it now. No more therapy. No Dr. Hale. Just Marcus. Real casual, like they were catching up over coffee. So I followed her. Parked across from the townhouse. Watched her get there early, just like always. She hated being late. She wore that soft blue blouse I gave her last Christmas. The one she said was too plain. Suddenly, it seemed just fine to her now. She knocked once, and he opened the door himself. No assistant. No secretary. Just him. Just her. Like clockwork. I stayed in the truck. Waited. She came out an hour later with that same look she had the night she first told me. Like something in her had been fed. Her cheeks were warm, her steps lighter. Not a single tear on her face. That was when I started digging. Marcus Hale. No wife. No kids. Moved around a lot. Always quiet towns. Never stayed long. I found vague stories from past clients in each place. A pattern. No formal charges. No clear evidence. But enough to know something was not right. Whispers of lines crossed. Women left worse than they came in. I made a call to an old buddy of mine from college. He works with networks, cybersecurity stuff. I did not explain much. Just gave him Marcus's name, email address, and asked for whatever he could find. Told him it was personal. 3 days later, I had everything. Passwords, schedules, personal notes. Not the therapy kind. The kind a man keeps when he has something to hide. Dozens of emails. Not just from Laura. From other women, too. Messages full of emotion. Long paragraphs. You remind me who I used to be. No one has ever listened to me like this. I wish we could be more than doctor and patient. And Laura's messages? I hate lying to him, but I need this. With you, I feel like myself again. Not someone's mother, not someone's wife. I sat alone in the garage, reading them until the words stopped meaning anything. At first, I was just numb, cold, like all the heat had drained out of my body. That is when it hit me. He was not helping women heal. He was grooming them, and I was just the next dumb husband on his list. I covered a wall in the garage with photos, emails, printed screenshots. Even had red string between push pins like one of those crime boards you see in movies. I looked unhinged. Maybe I was, but at least I was focused. Every thread led to another woman. Clara, Naomi, Allison, Jenna. Same story, different name. Women who showed up to his office broken and left addicted to his attention. His words. His hands. I tracked down Allison through an old message thread and her Facebook page. She lived above a tattoo shop 2 towns over. When she opened the door, she looked like someone who had seen better days but was still standing. I told her who I was. That Laura had been seeing Marcus. She did not look surprised. Come in, she said. She poured us tea and sat across from me. He makes you feel like you are special, she told me. Like you're the only one who has ever hurt this way. He studies you. Memorizes every crack. Then he uses those cracks to crawl inside and take over. I asked her why she never told anyone, never warned others. Because I thought I loved him, she said, almost ashamed. And by the time I stopped loving him, I did not have the strength to admit what I had let happen. I drove home in silence. The kind of silence that sits in your chest and does not move. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the sun had dropped low. Orange light poured through the windows like the house itself was waiting to say something. Laura was already upstairs. I walked up quiet. Her door was open, just a crack. I heard her talking. On speakerphone. I just need more time, she whispered. He is starting to get suspicious, but I can manage it. Then came his voice. Marcus. Smooth. Careful. You are doing good. Stay focused on your peace. He is not your concern anymore. Peace. That is what they were calling it now. I backed away and went back downstairs. Made dinner. Chicken piccata, her favorite. She smiled when she took the first bite. I smiled back. In the next few days, I tracked her movements. Watch how long she stayed in her car after yoga. Notice what apps she was using. What times her phone screen lit up. I logged everything. I still did not confront her. Marcus will be ready for that. He lived for confrontation. Probably had a whole explanation rehearsed. I would not give him that pleasure. No, I was going to take my time, remove one brick at a time until everything he built with her came crumbling down around them. And then something strange happened. He reached out to me. An email. No subject. Just my name. Alex, I understand that you are upset. I think it is important that we talk. Just the two of us. No pressure. No cost. I believe you deserve clarity. Clarity. He wanted to explain himself. Probably had some long speech ready about trauma bonds and misunderstood intimacy. Thought he could sell it to me like he sold it to her. I told Laura I had a work thing. She did not even look up. I went to see him. His office smelled like cedar wood and something colder, like lies baked into drywall. He stood when I came in, smiled like we were equals, held out his hand. I appreciate you coming, he said. I stared at that hand, then looked him square in the eye. Cut the nonsense, I said. He gave me this little smile. Not wide, not smug, just enough to let me know he thought he still had the upper hand. She came to me broken, he said, motioning toward the chair across from his desk. I stayed standing. No, she left me because you taught her to believe she was. He tilted his head a bit, like he was half impressed, half annoyed. That is not how the healing process works. I stepped a little closer, leaned in just enough. No, that's how manipulation works. That's how a cult starts. That knocked the light out of his eyes for a second. I've seen your playbook, I told him. The way you talk to these women, the phrases you use, how you make them feel seen, then slowly convince them that only you can fix them. You don't heal anyone, Marcus. You tear them down until they think they need you to be whole. He shifted in his chair. His calm started to crack. I leaned in more. Laura won't leave me for you. And even if she does for a while, it won't last. She'll walk away the second she sees you for what you are. He tried to hold his mask up, try to act cool. And what is that exactly? A smile for the first time in what felt like forever. A real smile. Calm. Dead certain. You're just a guy who thinks he's a savior. Then I turned and walked out. I did not need to watch him fall apart. I had already pulled the pin. Now I just needed to wait for the blast. I sat in the parking lot across the street for a while, engine off. I watched the lights in his office turn off one by one. It took him 10 full minutes to lock the front door after I left. That told me he was pacing inside, playing back every word I said, wondering how much I knew. That kind of doubt is poison to a man like him. Back home, the house was quiet. Laura was in bed, turned away from me, probably pretending to sleep again. I stood in the doorway and watched her, her shape under the covers, her leg tucked around the blanket like she still belonged there. I wondered if she saw his face in her dreams. I wondered if she ever pictured life without me and liked what she saw. I did not crawl into bed. I went downstairs, opened my laptop, and started working. I printed out everything. Emails between them. Messages from other women, too. Not just printed, I marked them up. I highlighted the worst lines. I made notes in the margins. I wanted this to hit like a sledgehammer in court if it came to that. I also saved copies of his calendar. Double-booked sessions. After-hours appointments that just happened to line up with late-night hotel charges. I didn't need to be a tech expert. Marcus had done the hard part by being arrogant and lazy. And Laura? She still used the same password for everything since college. She might as well have handed me the key. I loaded everything onto a flash drive, printed it all out, and made 3 more copies. Each one went into a labeled folder. Patient boundary violations. Marcus Hale. I didn't send them yet. I wrote down the names of people who would care when the time was right. The Psychology Licensing Board, an ethics review panel, a local reporter who did stories on misconduct in healthcare, and a sharp attorney I had on standby. I gave 1 full copy to my lawyer and told her to hold it in escrow. If something happened to me, I wanted the whole thing released. But I still had more to do. I set up a fake name and booked a one-on-one appointment with Marcus. Used a prepaid card and my buddy's number. I wanted to see what kind of game he ran when no one was watching. In 30 minutes, he told me I was living inside a masculine performance shell, that emotional starvation can drive violence, and that sometimes stepping away from a toxic union is the only way to become your full self. All that without asking me a single thing about who I was or what I wanted. After the session, I sent him a short message. I recorded the whole thing. No reply. But the next morning, Laura got a call. I stood in the hallway and listened. Her voice dropped into that soft, fake tone I had come to hate. Marcus, calm down. No, he doesn't know anything. He's just grieving. He's confused. Grieving. That's what they called it. Not betrayal. Not humiliation. Not having your life set on fire while everyone told you it was for your growth. I made coffee and waited for her to come down. When she did, I handed her a folder. I did not say a word. She asked, "What is this?" "Read it," I said. She opened it. Her face changed line by line. The email she sent him, highlighted in yellow. I think you would be better off without me. You understand me better than Alex ever did. I feel clean when I'm with you. Her hands started to shake. You think I didn't know? I said. You think I'm the one who's blind. But you're not the victim here. You chose this. Every single step. She looked up, and for once, she had nothing to say. No apology. No speech. Just a blank stare and that silence you get when someone finally runs out of lies. I stood. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to chase you. But I'm going to take everything, your words, your secrets, your confessions, and I'm going to show the world exactly what you and Marcus are. She opened her mouth to say something. Nothing came out. Do whatever you want, Laura, I said, brushing past her. Just know I have every one of your sessions backed up and ready to go. The fire's already lit. Then I walked out, because sometimes revenge is not about yelling. It is not about fists or fire. Sometimes it is about quiet moves and a clock that's already ticking. When I came home the next day, she was gone. Closet half empty, drawers pulled open in a rush. The faint smell of her perfume hung in the bedroom like a ghost. She did not leave a note. No goodbye. Just the kind of silence that tells you someone left thinking they still had the upper hand. But she forgot her laptop. Her email was still open. I sat down and read everything. Marcus had been panicking. He knows. Shut it down. Get out while you still can. The board called me. Then came one final message. If this gets out, it's not just my job, it's my whole life. And that is when I smiled. A quiet, cold kind of smile. Because the fire had started. And it was headed straight for them. After I read that last message from Marcus, the one where he said his license, his life, was on the line, I backed everything up again. All the emails, the screenshots, the call recordings. Uploaded them to a cloud drive. Sent copies to my lawyer. Double copies. The kind of careful planning a man learns when he's been lied to so well, he stops believing in fire alarms and starts memorizing the exits. Then I walked out to the garage and took down the board. All the notes, the photos, the strings, the faces, carefully pulled off, stacked, and folded into a cardboard box. I grabbed a Sharpie and wrote one word on the side in big, black letters. Evidenced it. It felt like boxing up a crime scene. Cold. Mechanical. No anger. Just the kind of calm you feel right after the last punch lands. 2 days later, I got a phone call. The woman on the line said her name was Naomi. Her voice was unsteady, but her words had heat. I saw your post about Marcus. You're not the only one, she said. Then she told me everything. How she was going through a rough divorce, how she trusted him, how he crossed lines in the name of healing. It started with, "You're so brave," and ended with her feeling like a fool. I recorded the call, not for revenge, just for record keeping. You learn to keep proof when you realize even truth needs a witness. The next message was anonymous. No name, no greeting, just a subject line. He's done this in 3 towns before yours. Attached was a zip file, client notes, calendar logs, message threads. Some names blacked out, some not. The messages all sounded the same, cold and clinical. Notes like, client is forming strong attachment. Continue until detachment is manageable. Like these women were pills to be tapered off, not people. That is when I stopped thinking about revenge. I had something better now. I had momentum. Then the call came from the state board. We've received multiple complaints, the woman said, all business. Serious ones. Would you be willing to provide testimony? I said yes before she could finish the sentence. After that, it all moved fast. Marcus Hale got suspended. His clinic closed down, called it a temporary restructuring, which we both knew meant his career was on life support. The press release was vague. No apology. Just legal speak about professional boundaries and commitment to ethical standards. Laura never called, never texted, but I saw her name pop up on a forum. One of those places where people share stories without faces. She had written something, had to be her. The way she worded things, the rhythm of her thoughts. I thought I was the exception. I thought I was finally understood. Turns out I was just next. That line stuck with me. It rang in my ears for hours. And honestly, I did not feel triumphant. I felt empty, like someone who won a fight, but came home to a house with no roof. I started wondering when she realized it had all been a lie. Was it when Marcus stopped returning calls? Was it in some dusty motel room when her new beginning turned into radio silence? That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at my phone, not waiting for her to call, just wondering if the silence might finally mean something. I thought about our marriage, the way it unraveled thread by thread. She did not just cheat on me. She handed her pain to a man who fed off it. She called it healing. I called it surrender. Then I picked up the one folder I had not sent to anyone yet, the one filled with old love notes and texts from her back when she still meant her words. I took it outside, lit up the grill, and tossed them in. Watched the paper curl and burn, ink turning to smoke. That part of her life was gone. The next morning, I took down the photos. Not all of them, just the ones where her smile looked too wide, too sure. The ones where I now knew she was already gone, even if she was still standing next to me. I boxed them up, put them in the attic, right next to the Christmas lights and the boxes of memories no one wants to unpack. The house felt different after that. Bigger, quieter, like it was finally waiting for someone to claim it again. I started with small things. Painted the kitchen, threw out the duvet she picked, replaced her scent diffusers with the smell of pine and cold air. One by one, I erased her fingerprints until the house stopped whispering her name every time I turned on a light. Back at work, people gave me the nod. The kind you get when folks know something happened but do not want the details. I let them think what they wanted. That she left. That I moved on. That I was healing. Maybe all three were true. Maybe none were. Marcus disappeared from the spotlight. Last I heard, he had hired lawyers. Some of the women gave statements. Some could not. I never judged them. Pain has its own clock. But I stayed out of it from that point on. I had done what I came to do. I had told the truth. What the world did with it was not up to me anymore. Then 3 weeks after she vanished, Laura resurfaced. Not in person. Through paperwork. A manila envelope showed up in my mailbox. Neat handwriting. Her name on the return address. She had filed for separation. No warning. No phone call. Just her signature on a stack of legal forms like we were business partners calling it quits. Inside was a letter. Not an apology. It was a list of reasons. She said she needed clarity. Said I had taken up too much of her emotional space. That I made her feel small just by being steady. That one line hit harder than all the others. You occupied too much of my emotional bandwidth. Like love was a data plan she couldn't afford. I didn't write back. I didn't challenge the filing. The war was over. Nothing left but ashes. So I kept moving. I joined a gym. Started running again. I picked up my guitar, had not touched it in years. Played until the chords stopped sounding like heartbreak. Met up with old friends. Talked less. Listened more. The world had not changed. I had. One night, I walked by her favorite bookstore. Just out of habit, I guess. I stood across the street for a while, staring through the window. The shelves were the same. The chair she used to sit in, empty. I didn't go in. Just let the memory pass through me like wind. I turned and walked away. I do not know if she is happy now, or if Marcus is either. I stopped checking, stopped scrolling. That was the real step forward, letting go of the need to know. That is how you start again. Not by rewriting the past, but by refusing to let it write you. Some nights, when the house is quiet and the coffee's gone cold beside me, I still hear her voice. Not the real one, just the memory of it. That soft, careful way she used to talk when the truth was already gone, but the goodbye hadn't happened yet. It does not sting anymore. It is just a sound now. Familiar. Hollow. Far off. I never meant to see her again. That part was done. The paperwork had been filed. The man she left me for had gone underground. And I had started patching together a new kind of life. One where her name wasn't stitched into every curtain and corner. But healing has a way of pulling at threads when you think the sweater's already unraveled. And one of those threads came in a text. No name. Just words. He wants to talk. You should come. No explanation. Just an address. Coordinates like some kind of trail from a ghost. It led to a beat-up house on the edge of town. Weeds growing tall around the fence. Front porch sagging. I recognized her car, parked out front. Same silver Toyota. One headlight still out. Same dent in the side door. I stood there for a while, hand on the gate, thinking, was walking through that door weakness or closure? Didn't matter anymore. I went in, She opened the door before I knocked, like she had been waiting. She looked the same mostly, but something was different in her eyes, tired in a way that sleep does not fix. The kind of tired you earn after you realize the story you were living was a lie the whole time. She did not say anything, just stepped back and let me walk past her. The place smelled like lavender air freshener, with a hint of old cigarette smoke buried deep in the couch cushions. One suitcase sat by the door, half zipped, half a life packed up, and nowhere left to go. "He's gone," she said. I did not answer. Said he could not handle the pressure. Told me I was making it worse. She sat down slow, curled into herself like a kid trying to disappear. I looked at her. He was right. That landed. Not like a slap, just a truth she had not wanted to hear. She nodded, pulled her arms in tighter. "I thought it meant something," she said. "Thought he really saw me." I shook my head. "He saw what you wanted him to see. That's not the same." She looked up, quiet now. Not defensive, not angry, just worn out. "I didn't come to fix anything," I told her. "There is nothing left to fix. But I figured, if we're going to bury this, we might as well do it face to face." She blinked, surprised maybe. Her hand brushed a tear she didn't even realize had fallen. "I don't know who I am anymore. That's because you let somebody else tell you who to be. And when he bailed, he took your blueprint with him." She whispered, "I never meant to hurt you. You never meant not to." We sat in that silence for a long minute, the kind of quiet that feels like it has weight. And then she pulled something from her jacket, just a little flash drive, and slid it across the table toward me. "It's everything," she said. "His notes, his recordings, what he said about you, about me. I thought you should have it." I stared at it. Then I left it right there on the table. "I don't need more proof," I said. "I just need less of this." She stood up when I did. No tears, no begging, just a look that told me she finally understood. She did not follow me, did not ask for anything, just stood in that doorway, hands hanging limp at her sides, like someone who finally ran out of words. I looked at her one last time, not as a wife, not even as the woman who betrayed me, just as someone who broke herself trying to find someone to fix her. And I realized something. This was not revenge. This was release. I walked out without turning around. It rained the next morning. Not a downpour, just a steady drizzle. Enough to soak the porch and quiet everything. I sat outside with a cup of black coffee I did not really want. The kind of quiet I used to hate had turned into space I could breathe in. I thought of her, alone in that house with a suitcase and a thumb drive full of guilt. I thought of him, the man who thought he could play God until the weight of his lies finally crushed his little kingdom. But mostly I thought about me, the version of myself that existed before any of this. The guy who believed love was strong enough to survive anything. The one who learned the hard way that love can rot while still looking good on the outside. I never touched that flash drive, still sitting where I left it. Part of me wanted to open it, to listen, to know the details. But another part, maybe the better part, knew it would not change anything. The truth had already done its job. The fire had already burned down the house. I went for a walk around the neighborhood. First one in months. The neighbors nodded. The polite kind of nod people give a man who went through something but came out the other side standing. I nodded back. Let them wonder. Let them think what they wanted. I was not their story to finish. I still wasn't sleeping in the master bedroom. Too many ghosts in there. I moved into the guest room. Small bed. Quiet space. No memories in the walls. I slept better in that room than I had in years. It was the only room in the house that had never heard a lie. Later that day, a letter came in the mail, stamped from the state board. Inside, one simple statement. Marcus Hale's license permanently revoked. Case closed. They thanked me for my time, my honesty, my courage. I read it once, folded it, never looked at it again. Closure is not something you get in a letter. It's something you build with your own hands. That night, I went back into the garage. The board was long gone, but the faint outlines of tape and pinholes were still on the wall. I did not cover them, did not paint over them. Those scars were part of the story now. Proof I survived it. She never called again, never wrote. Her lawyer handled the divorce. We signed the papers through the mail. No fight, no flare, just an ending. Quiet, final. I kept the flash drive, locked it in a drawer at the top of the closet. Not for revenge, not for spite, just because I could. Power is not the fire. It's knowing where you keep the match and choosing not to light it. That night, the rain kept falling. No thunder, no drama, just the soft beat of water on the roof of a house that was finally mine again. No ghosts, no lies, just a man, a porch, and peace that didn't ask for permission. Clean hands, cold heart, and quiet, the kind that means it's over.